Genderswag. It's Genderswag. It's Genderswag. It's Genderswag. It's Genderswag.
If you are a girl and you look like a boy, take it on the stride, leave life's too short. Keep your head up high and repeat after me. I'm okay with me, so I don't mind you.
Get upset.
Okay, don't get upset, girl. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This is Let me turn this down because we got two loud divas in here.
Uh-oh. Should I be quiet?
Everyone,
Woo.
welcome back to another exciting, riveting episode of Genderswag Radio.
So exciting.
I'm okay with me, so I don't mind you. You know that's Genderswag. This is Clarence, Scandelle, Johnson. For those of you who are just watching the show for the first time, we want to welcome you. Genderswag is a spiritual and social awareness organization. We get folk together, primarily LGBT, but element of peace society aside, our friends and allies on important stuff. So suicide prevention, addiction recovery, transgender support. We got it all going down.
I fit every category.
We got all the
Everyone.
letters. We got everything. If you want to find out about us, it's easy. Just go to our GoFundMe campaign. It's gofundme.com/genderswag. That's GNDRSWAG. Our mission statement is there, and membership is free. So come on aboard. Okay, so for today, we have a very patient and actually quite stunning.
Oh,
I'm looking
Lord
at her
have
in the
mercy.
screen. Her name is Leslie Silva.
Hello.
Leslie.
Can they see us too?
They can see us.
Oh my God, the
They
hair.
can see it. No, but the hair is.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good now that you're here. You know what? She's as fresh as a daisy. But let me tell you, she's been here for like 20 hours waiting.
I'm a little sweaty. I'm a little sweaty.
Should we pump up the AC? Let's get the.
No, don't. Let's
Okay.
just keep going.
I took a little French bath.
The
before I
pumping
came
up the
out this
AC
morning.
might mean another 30 minutes.
Another 30 minutes. If it ain't digital, it ain't happening.
Exactly right.
Leslie, let's tell
Yes,
everybody who you are and how we met. Leslie and I live in Fort Greene.
We're doggy mommies.
We're doggy. we are definitely doggy mommies. What's your
Doggy
baby's
mommies that don't
name?
play.
What's your doggy mommy?
My dog's name is Tanner, after the Bad News Bears. Do you ever see the Bad News Bears?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember the
Through the crib bars?
right,
Because I'm
the
only
what?
like 28.
Oh yeah, exactly
Through the
right. When we
crib
were
bars.
3, it came out. And do you remember the little like white racist bullhead kid?
Oh,
who
yeah,
used to
yeah.
beat everybody up.
That's Tanner.
That's what I named my dog after. Yes.
Oh. And you know what? He's the cutest little thing.
He is ridiculous. It
He's
hurts.
ridiculously cute.
Yeah.
And my guy Bear,
Bear
who
is so
AKA Spaz.
Yes, Bear is not cute. Bear is like handsome and sexy. You know what I'm saying? He's like a sexy dog that will cut you.
All I can see him is just peeing on everything. That's all I see. That's
Well,
my
no.
boy.
Yes,
he's 4 years
a
old.
Sweetheart and bad.
Yes, he is
He's
bad.
bad.
He's ghetto.
Yeah.
I have to admit. He got the ghetto thing down. Thug. Pretty boy Thug. That's
See,
my
that's
dog.
so funny because I always think more like Upper East Side.
No, he
Yes.
has like thugs in the
Okay.
neighborhood in cars driving by and say, "Yo, Bear, what's up?" I'm not kidding you. They love my dog. Because he goes after pit bulls. He
my
goes after whatever
God.
he fucking feels
They
like
know
it.
his name.
I actually got into a fight with a white woman who had a dog named Pineapple. Have you
Okay.
heard of this dog?
No, but I think you've told me this
Oh,
story.
okay, so we're not
and
gonna
must
go in
repeat
again.
it.
For those of you who haven't heard the story, go by the campfire section of Genderswag magazine. No, I'm teasing. Leslie, we're here to talk about you.
No, I want to hear the story.
No, me
A
fighting
fight
a
with a white woman
with
in
a dog.
Fort Greene is
Look,
not uncommon.
Look, a black
It's not
man,
uncommon.
brown man,
Uh-huh.
because my dog is black, I'm brown. People don't get that. My dog is black, I'm brown. We fighting a white woman with a white dog. You figure it
Who went to
out.
jail?
I almost did. Of course.
Exactly right.
The dog chomped on Bear's throat.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding you. And it
Is
was
Pineapple a pit bull?
Pineapple's a mix. He is white with brown spots or gray spots or some spots or whatever.
Spot.
And anyway, I had seen her and Pineapple months before the actual vicious attack took place, and he almost got my baby. I had to do like a yo-yo. You know how you pick the dog up before the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did the little yo-yo thing, and I caught him, and then she came over. She was like, "No, he's never done that." Blah, blah,
Of
blah,
course
blah.
not. Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay, no problem. Your dog should not be off the leash then."
Oh, she was off leash.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's not even funny.
So then we were out in the big valley, you know, where all the dogs hang out.
you mean
And,
the field? It
the
ain't no damn
field.
valley. It's a
That's what
soccer
no,
field.
they think it's a valley. You know who I'm talking about. They act like it's pastoral, like green, you know, evergreen and shit. And so that little dog snuck up on Bear.
Are you serious?
Right, in between the other dogs. I saw it from a distance because I was doing, you know, the coffee clutch thing.
Oh no!
And he got my baby by the throat, and I lost it.
I hope
turned,
you did.
I think I morphed into. At first, it was like Xena,
Uh-huh.
and then Wonder
Mom
Woman by
comes
the end
out.
of it. Because I had the dog. My dog was running. I pried. I had.
Oh
scra-
my
you can still see the scars. See the
God.
scars?
Oh my
I
god!
pried the dog's mouth open.
Oh my god!
Got him off bed because he did not let release. The
No, I know
hold.
that's happened to my old dog.
And then he started biting me. And so I grabbed him. This was like real Bionic Woman shit. Picked
hope
him
you
up over
threw
my
him
head
down.
and threw him
Yeah.
across that pastoral field that they love so fucking much.
In the lilies.
And then she had the nerve to tell me with blood all over me, saying, "You shouldn't do that when dogs are." I said, "If you like life."
Oh, you better walk
You
away
better.
right now.
And this is not an attack against white folk, because, you know, I
It
love white
kind of
folk.
is. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no.
You
but
don't know what's happened to Fort Greene, you guys.
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
no
let's
idea.
talk about
It's-
it.
It's not so much white is more of an entitlement that has moved in.
Yeah.
to Fort Greene.
Yeah, and
There's a difference.
There's a
There's a
hierarchy mentality
Yeah,
that
like they-
exists, and when they talk to people of color, it's always a condescending tone.
Like, what are you doing here?
It sort of reminds me of like the episodes from Gone with the Wind when she's telling, you know, the May Sassy or whatever her name is. You know, they have that tone, that pitch. And you look
what
at
the hell
them.
is the name of? She won the first Oscar.
Yes,
What
she
is the
did.
name, though?
Hattie McDaniel.
But what was the character's name? Millie.
No,
Millie.
no,
It was
Millie. No, it wasn't Millie. Millie's too white. They're not gonna
Silly.
give her-
Millie.
It was something like that.
Miss Millie.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, Miss Millie was the white woman. Never mind. Who
Yeah, I
died
said it
in
was
childbirth.
right, child.
Okay.
So yeah, the neighborhood has definitely become,
Changed.
you know, and it's a mixed bag because, you know, I was born in Cumberland Hospital, which is now, you know, like the shelter, and when I was a kid, it was mixed. It was a melting pot. We had
Yeah.
Italian, Chinese, all different types in our building, and then when crack hit. Everything went dark. It was
Yeah.
like all brown skinned people left to survive that whole thing.
Thing.
I watched my high school and my preschool buddies drop off one at a time from crack.
Wow.
Women who I grew up with in kindergarten on the corner selling their bodies. it was horrendous.
Yeah.
And so now, fast forward.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Very calculated.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. So here we are, me doing Bionic Woman in a little
Is
pastoral
crack still
field.
even a thing? It's kind of.
I call my roommate. Let me not say that. He is my godson. And I love him to death. His name is I won't tell his name. But I call everybody crackhead who gets on my nerves because crackhead mentality is so diverse. I mean,
It's
like a certain form of serious retardation.
You have to go online and see like the crackhead videos on YouTube. It's cross-cultural.
They're all over the place.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what
Kansas, Illinois.
It's a state of life. It's a
really is.
Yeah, it's a
Once
state
you
of
go
mind.
in, did you ever see those before and after pictures?
No, we should not be laughing. That's so horrible. But
listen, if you don't laugh, you are going to die.
I was acting like a crackhead 4 years ago, so I call myself. This is the after picture. I mean, no, this is the after picture.
Why do crackheads always dance on the corner though? Why?
They hear that beat. That beat's coming from somewhere. Maybe it's the subway vibrations, because you know they get all kinds of sensitive. So maybe they're catching the subway as it goes underground.
Oh my God.
I don't know, but listen, if you on crack, it's whack. We know
it is, and it's okay. There's help for you.
It is. Speaking of which, one of the things that we deal with a lot with Genderswag is we help people transition, we like to call it, from being depressed or being addicted to a substance, whatever it is that's got you by the cojones and got you acting like a crackhead.
By the vajonas
too. We try to get you in a better place and get you out of it. And music is one of the dope things that we use to relate to people and connect us. So we wanted to make sure that if you're listening to the show and you're going through depression or some form of addiction, whatever you're going to, get yourself on over to our SoundCloud page. So it's soundcloud.com/genderswag. All the music that's there is for you guys to listen to help you get through it. If you're LGBT, if you're LGBT and you've got
that's some of the music right there.
Yeah, that is for you guys. There's stuff there for addiction. There's stuff there for depression, and it's done by artists who care. So go there and support.
Lovely.
Leslie.
Yes, dear.
Let's talk about, and one of the other things that we want to help treat people with is photography.
Oh, okay. Well, yes.
Tell me how you got into it. When did it?
It's so interesting. Like, first of all, I want to be very clear that I'm 17 years drug and alcohol free. Get real.
That's
applause.
amazing. Now, see,
a la Bevy.
I wanted you to be the one to bring that.
Oh, I don't care. I want.
Okay.
Listen, I understand the anonymity part.
Right.
But I also, I think it's important for people to know that I'm sober if I'm going to do this show.
That something, that's another reason why you're here. And she's a lovely human being. I mean, just to know her and know that she's in the hood and
walking my dog.
Yeah, it gives me a sense of home. It makes me feel good about the neighborhood.
Thank you.
17 years. Wow.
Yeah, clean and sober 17 years.
Now, what kind of maintenance is there? I don't know if maintenance is the word. Like me, I'm 4 years.
Yeah.
And I got triggers everywhere.
Right.
My father's an alcoholic. My roommate's going through shit, and I'm doing okay. I'm not in AA, but I do go to a weekly therapy session.
Fantastic.
And that, for folks who live in Brooklyn, there's a great place called New Directions. It's 500 Atlantic Avenue.
Wonderful.
Check it out.
500 Atlantic Avenue. What time is that?
Sundays. It's Monday through, I think, Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Monday through Saturday. You go in, you do an intake, and then they get you started.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would marry my therapist.
Ooh. Is he available?
She.
Is she available?
I don't know. I gotta ask Dana. No, I love this woman. It took me 2 years. See, the reason why I always say that is because it took me 2 years to find the right person who got me in every kind of way, because I would sit through sessions at other places where I was, and the guy would be picking his nose or writing, his grocery list, or doing both at the same
Or
time.
looking at their watch.
Right.
Looking at there's nothing worse than when you're in a therapist's office and they start to pick their nose. It
was
really.
And I caught the size, the shape, and the color
Ugh.
of the nugget. I told him, I said, if you don't get a tissue.
I had an acting teacher who did that to me once. I was like,
And I was actually
Disgusting.
having a breakdown and stopped
oh, sure.
to tell him to get a tissue.
Oh, God.
Now, that's bad. So anyway.
I can't. Now I'm going to be
years
sick. I'm going to be sick. That's how you stay sober, is like when you see your therapist picking their damn nose
And you said,
and you don't drink after that, then you can kind of stay through anything.
but here's the other
Stay
thing.
sober through anything.
If you get into a therapy program, and I really cannot stress enough the importance of therapy, especially if you are not surrounded by a support group that can help you see the light of day, because being in an addiction, you are living in your own world and it ain't got shit to do with the rest of the world. So you want to stay connected, and that's what therapy does for you. It keeps you connected. And if you are not getting a connection with the therapist that you start out with, you're not married to that person. You've got options. Move your shit around. I was looking for my roommate for something more alcohol related, substance related for therapy, and that's how I found them.
Oh, good.
So I immediately crossed over from where I was
Fantastic.
going. So don't feel like you're
Fantastic.
stuck. Now, did therapy play a big part for you in your recovery? What was that like?
It did at different times. I mean, I got really, and I hate to say this, but I got really lucky or blessed or or whatever, because when I had, let's just say 90 days, because you can't say what I got sober with, but I'll just use the language. My best friend died of a heroin overdose.
Oh, God.
And this was like a Juilliard guy. I went to Juilliard school, and there were a lot of drugs and alcohol problems at that school. Or people, artists, we tend to gravitate towards that.
There's a sensitivity that's very wrong.
And when you are that sensitive and heightened sensitivity, you need something to numb it out. So it's just kind of the way it goes, hand in hand. And he died, and it was a wake-up call for me, because I went, oh, this can kill you. So that was my first real solidification, that I just went, this will kill me if I keep doing it. And I never did heroin, by the way. I was straight up just alcohol,
Me too.
drugs, alcohol and weed. And I used to say, these are, this is Jesus made wine, so I'm fine. I mean, that was like the whole thing, and weed is, from the earth, so it's not
Right.
And I think for some people in modification, or they're fine with it, but for me, I have a real physical allergy to it.
Did that, like with me, there's a heavy family tree.
Oh,
on
all
both
over.
sides.
Yeah,
Was that the same for you?
I have to be careful about speaking on that, but it runs in my family.
Yeah.
But I can just say that I recognized it within myself.
Good.
So, the therapy part of it was when I had started to go to therapy before I even put down the drugs and alcohol, and had an incident where I literally was going to go to Mexico and drink myself to death. I mean, I had just finished this big TV show, and I got fired from the show, and I thought to myself, that's it, I'm done. So I went, pocket full of cash, all you could want, young actor in Hollywood, and and this guy went with me. Didn't know him very well, but he said, I'm going to come with you. And he babysat me the whole weekend as I drank and was just behaving like a fool. When we were coming back over to the border, I had weed in the car, and we got stopped. And I thought, oh my God, we're about to get ready to get arrested. So we had a moment where they had pulled us over, and the guys kind of turned away for a second, and the guy that I was with took the weed and ate it so we wouldn't get arrested.
So smart.
Well, my reaction was, you ate my fucking weed.
Oh, Cricket! That's Cricket! Oh my God! Did you fight him?
I did.
Oh!
So I was like, I cannot believe you ate my weed.
Somebody's got to like script that.
And he goes, I have 5 months sober, and I just compromised my sobriety, so your ass wouldn't go to jail. And it was the first time in Mexico.
Oh, fuck.
Can you imagine me in a Mexican jail?
No,
it would have been
honey.
over like in
2 seconds.
2 seconds. So, but it was the first time in my life that I realized that my actions directly affected another human being. And for whatever reason, I was not connecting that. So my self-destruction was all about me. It wasn't about anybody else. And for whatever reason, he was the one to get that.
Yeah.
And I went and I told my shrink that story because I was seeing a therapist. And she said, you might want to try the program. And I went, and I've been sober ever since.
Oh my gosh.
That's my little sober story. But so therapy.
There's nothing little about that.
Well, but the point about it is
No,
being
you
the
know.
therapy really.
that
And
yeah.
over time, because the thing about getting sober is everything that needs to come up of the reasons you drank will come up. And so I did use therapy because the certain programs are good for support and things like that. But it is, if you can get a professional or a social worker or someone to those deep, dark things that you don't want to tell anybody that you drank over, it's very helpful.
It is.
Now I can talk about it like water off a duck's back because I've processed most of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I don't get triggered and stuff like that. Like when all this Me Too campaign about sexual harassment and all this kind of stuff that has just happened.
Right, so it brings up stuff.
Of course.
Yeah,
You're always going to have the triggers.
Yeah.
But the more that you take care of yourself during the triggers as opposed to abusing yourself further because of the triggers, the stronger you get as a sober person.
It's true. For me, I'm learning to circumvent my gut reaction to the triggers. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm very defensive of my sobriety, and so when someone's pushing those buttons, I get angry because I'm like, you ought to know, you know what I mean, or you're gonna know. And it's a mind evolution. It really, I will tell you this: being sober, having survived a heart attack, seeing, and there's truth about life flashing before your eyes and all that shit, because I was dying in my living room.
Wow.
At the time. I had a heart attack. They estimated that it happened on a Tuesday. I didn't call the EMS until that Saturday or Sunday.
Well, what the hell were you doing?
I was laying in bed thinking that I had
A
food
flu.
poisoning.
Oh my God.
Because the symptoms were so similar.
Really?
With the sweating and see, I was vomiting uncontrollably because I have pancreatitis. I didn't even know I had it from the drinking and the diabetes. So
Wow.
I actually heard a voice say to me, "Are you ready?" And it was a familiar voice.
Wow. Well, that's your spirit guide.
Somebody
right there, honey.
over there.
That was your spirit guide.
But then
do you know who it was?
I think it was my grandmother.
I was just gonna say because
she's followed me around my whole life.
Yes, your grandma.
And I literally saw in heaven, screening time, like real fast. You feel everything fast. It's like when somebody hits the button and things go fast. That's how it is. But you have a residue, or I did, of what my life would be like if I stayed here. And I loved it.
Oh, fantastic!
I thank God I did.
Oh, thank God.
And I said, no, I'm not ready. And then I began to come out of it because I was slipping. I was like, my body was fading and everything. And I called my cousin, who's an EMS worker, and she said, oh my God. And she sent the truck.
Wow.
And that's how I I was in the waiting room, and they didn't know I had a heart condition. Even my cousin over the phone, she thought it was diabetes. I'm sitting there quiet as a mouse, and the guy, one of the hospital staff, kept looking at me. It's kind of cute. So even though I was dying, I was like, oh.
Okay, I guess I'm in this
Right,
hospital gown.
get a little nookie before
I got a
I
hospital
cross
gown
over.
on
You
you.
see, I got
It's
a little-
open in the back.
You got a gown. He came over to me and he said, something's wrong. Something's telling me. This is what he said. Something's telling me to read your vitals.
That was your grandma.
Read your vitals. And he did the EKG. And the next thing I know, it was like an episode from a movie. Every movie they were like rushing me in, and they did the surgery through one of the arms and all this crazy shit, and I had a heart attack. And the rest is history. But the therapy, the connections, like knowing, and it's so true what you said, Leslie, about when you're getting sober, you go back to the sources, the things that made you want to numb out.
Well, the thing about, from what I've understood, you have to forgive me, I'm a little dry. About I've done so many different manifestations of how to stay sober, and of course you kind of you come across information because the people you meet are healers. The people you meet that have stayed sober a long time or even a day, I mean, they're on a journey that is very healing for the planet. They're taking destruction and turning it into functionality, and so long story short is we store these memories in our bodies. We store them, and they can manifest in illness. They can manifest in mental illness. They can manifest in so many different ways. So, for me as an alcoholic, it was not. So every time you numb it in your body, it puts like a Band-Aid on it, a Band-Aid. Well, when you get sober and you're not numbing it anymore, the Band-Aid keeps getting ripped off and gets ripped off and gets ripped off. So these wounds have to come up. They come up to be healed. That's the amazing thing. That's the amazing part of it, is that they cease to have power over you once you do the process of, some people call it shadow work, some people call it step work, some people, it just depends upon, or you go to a therapist and tell them what happened. We're as sick as our secrets, is a saying in the sober community.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's so true.
Yeah, so it's like, and what's just to hop forward even a little bit about what's going on globally right now, or even in America, where all these women in this Me Too campaign, it's just fabulous because we're ripping that wound open, and it's painful, and but the more that it's exposed to light, and the more that it's in people's consciousness, and the more that a man can see that happening and maybe stop it as opposed to turning away from it. This is how we heal.
And the male victims are coming forward too.
Yes, they are.
We had the comedian. You were telling me about it. Was it you?
Yes, I was.
I forgot his name. The big
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
And somebody
dark skin,
grew up as
broke his
Terry.
genitals.
No, is it Terry Owens?
It might be Terry Owens. I could look it up.
But
he was at a party, and one of the big wigs from the biz just grabbed his crotch. Where his wife was right there in the same room. And
listen, I was in 95. 94. I was at Juilliard, and we all had our summer jobs, and I had a summer job at this old beautiful restaurant that's since closed called Caprice Cafe on 68th Street. And I had a little gingham, beautiful little sweet dress on one day, to my knees, but kind of poofy and cute. And I look cute, and I'm, a hostess. You're supposed to. And this man came up, and in the place at the time were Al Pacino, Danny Aiello, and Jack Lemmon. And it was kind of empty except for these huge mega star actors. And this man came underneath my skirt, grabbed my crotch, and kept running. And my boss saw it, and it's one of the worst feelings on the planet, because it's such a these people who are predators, and they see the victim, they see who is going to freeze. You know what I mean? And this is how they can get away with it. They almost know the ones that will. I don't know. That at least I froze, because it was such a shock.
Who in their right mind would think that would happen? That's how the alternate reality of the psychosis is. They live in a different world from everybody else. It's seriously a different world.
It is a different world.
And they've got their own set of rules. They've got their own, everything is different there.
They're creating their own moral universe. They literally create their own moral universe.
It's true. And
they don't feel like bad because they're doing it.
No.
They think they're right. They think it's justified.
That's right.
They think because this happened to me, this whatever, or this,
it becomes
I'm able
their frequency. I use that word a lot now because the frequency is something that travels. And it doesn't have to do with your background or your class or your color. It's a frequency that if you are not able to switch that station through treatment or whatever, you get up every morning and you are tuned into that frequency.
It's an ugly frequency.
And you go the whole day, the whole night on that frequency, and it won't change. Your life will stay there. And that's why I tell people, change your frequency, change your life. Understand that it's about energy, you know what I mean? And people don't want to hear it because they're like, whatever. But, the real truth in the world, for me, are the stuff that people, don't want to hear. It's so simple. It's shadow work. Because of my theory is because we're so cosmetically engineered as human beings, everything's visual. And so therefore, if we can't see it first, then we don't accept it as being a reality. So if you're telling somebody, look, that frequency is way off, unless you're in a studio and they can see the equipment, the frequency thing doesn't register.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we're a religious culture. I mean, all religion is based on something that you can't see.
Exactly.
So it's a real and kind of insanity-inducing thing when you see this is how these people are almost they're allowed to get away with it because they do.
Our president is on that frequency.
They create a faith. They create these positions of power that,
His frequency has a lot of followers. It has a lot of people tuned into that station.
They're out of the woodwork.
And they've got a leader. They've got somebody that's in visually what you can see there, and they're all picking up the frequency now.
Every single bad behavior that they wish about, fantasize about, sat on is sitting in the White House. All the quote unquote PC work that's been done over the past 30, 40 years for equal rights for people is being as we speak being eradicated. I just read something about that they're going to be having he's going to be having the prison system the head I think it's called L something. I have to look it up. But they're going to be meeting. They're moving their private prison meeting. Privatization of prisons. One of these big companies, their annual meeting has been moved to the Trump Hotel.
Oh God, that's Nazism. And so they can do what they want without the public.
They're not going to stop until everybody is enslaved. I mean, we already are. If you're working for some corporation, you're enslaved in some way, shape, or form. That's why I hold on to my art as much as I can. But yeah, I do television. We're already all kind of enslaved to serve someone.
We are.
It's going to get worse.
It is
in
worse.
The next 10 years, it's going to get really bad.
This guy, Trump, he is a manifestation to me of what was always bubbling underneath the surface of this country. Because as a person who is LGBT and of color and things of that, I'm not wearing any kind of rose-colored glasses, because if I do, I'm dead. because my reality is so acutely different from people. There's a real safety issue of being black and being LGBT in this country and in the world in general, that if I let myself go, I could lose my life at any time. Having an altercation with someone white who is female and my dog, that could have easily been my life right there. Just things like that are reality for me, where someone who's not of color and blah, blah, blah would have a different reality or different outcome with that. So
I think you have to get used to life not being fair. One of the hardest things for me in my sobriety, and one of the things that I still rage over, is life is not fair for whatever reason. So what, as you say, frequency do you need to be on to find that fairness? What to be able to keep going?
For me,
so
I had to buy out of turning my chips on all of this taught racism. I had to really go way past my evolution, even my experiences, to say, I'm not, because you're white, whatever, because you're black, whatever, because I've had it from everywhere. I have black people a woman tried to run me and my dog down on Myrtle and Ashland the other day because we were walking across the street, and she obviously had a thing for whatever her reason was. She literally bumped her car up to my thigh.
Oh man!
And thank God Bear was on the opposite side of me, and she let me know that was her intention. So that's the kind of thing that happens more often in my life.
Wow.
Than I think.
Tested.
Yeah, and so I say this because there's so many people out there in like the smaller towns, and this is New York City, and that happened to me. But in the smaller towns, we have kids who are being abused every day at school.
Oh yeah. Well, I grew up in. I have a really weird perspective, and this is what I try to reach for, and I'm not always successful, especially now. My own prejudices have been rearing their own, ugly head, like ridiculous, since November 8th. But I grew up in all white schools, and when I say that, I mean all white, meaning it was me, my brother, and we were the only ones. And this went on for like the first 16 years of my life. And so when you talk about being bullied, when you talk about, people would come up to us and say, we're going to lit your family tonight, that kind of stuff. I mean, on the regular. So, but I also had really, really, to this day, really amazing white people befriend me. Stick up for me, be my advocate in those situations. And and then we moved when I was 16, and then I went to a school where it was mostly minorities. And then I had some black girls wanting to cut my beautiful hair off my head and kill me. And I ended up getting a bodyguard, because at the time I had really good weed. So this girl really liked me, and she would literally walk me around with her and a couple other her friends. And she was my bodyguard to keep me from getting beat up. And it was sad because she actually died. Somebody stabbed her in front of it's a famous story in Danbury, Connecticut. It was she actually died. But that said, so I've had it from both sides, as you say, you've experienced it as well, and I've known, I kind of have had this. I never had the experience of belonging to a culture. I identify as African American. But I'm never, and I'm also Puerto Rican. But my parents tried to assimilate so much that those cultures for us were not part of our upbringing. I mean, they were, but we weren't inundated. We literally lived in all white areas because of my father's job and all this kind of stuff. So spiritually and mindfully, I know that there is a place where we all reside, where we are no different than the person. We really aren't. Our circumstances are, our cultures might be. But, you know, in South Africa, they have this saying called Ubuntu, which means I see you as human. And I've felt that beyond race, creed, you know, gender, economic class. I have felt that within humanity. But that said, it's really hard to navigate through the world that way.
Especially when the world
You
now
know?
is governed, our region,
Yeah.
our America is governed by people who are on a hate frequency.
They really are.
Their job as people who promote that station, if you will, as an analogy, is to keep the station going, keep it on air, you know.
Well,
get
they
the
want to go back to
sponsors.
slave. I mean, they really
They
want to.
do.
They want, and
They
it
do.
doesn't even matter. And this is the scary thing that a lot of Americans who are not people of color or minority or women don't understand. They're going to be just as enslaved as they don't get it.
Yeah, no.
That's what
'Cause
they're gunning
this man
for.
is a misogynistic prick.
They want everybody to be.
Yeah.
They basically want everybody working at Trump's golf course. That's what they want.
And you know something, God help him. And I say this with love because I just came to an epiphany spiritually of the frequency that he's on in an empathic way. So everything about it is definitely like a part of a truth. You know, like there's certain things that I feel come from a certain place where the truth is the truth, and doesn't matter who it is or what the situation is. We're looking at a very damaged human being and a bunch of damaged human beings there. And what is it going to take for his pain to go away? And, you know, when you have that kind of power, you don't feel that you are in pain. I can look at him now through wisdom of the higher power and see his pain and go, you know, there's nothing worse than a person in constant pain. You ever see that?
Well, hurt people hurt people.
Right. It's
That's what they
like
do.
you can't talk to them. You can't touch them. You can't, because they're constantly in pain. And so they just want to lash out. It's like a craziness.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel is governing our country.
It is, but it's so interesting if we look at it like you're saying, higher power and through consciousness, which is one of the benefits of getting sober, is you do develop this sense of
You do.
intuition and higher thought. You really see that we asked for this somehow. We have been sleeping and comfortable. And it's interesting because it only took 50 years. I mean, like, if you look at it in the 60s when people were, you know, protesting and we got our right to vote, and or a little before that, but, you know, where people were very engaged politically. Somehow, over time, people started getting a little money in their pocket. And it just kind of like everything that is negative about this experience in America became about materialism.
There's a whole
but you know, it became materialism. Once you put materialism first,
right.
This is what is doomed us.
You've
as a
got to
society.
come, like, seriously, I want you to come back and whenever you have time, because this is a really magnificent time for light workers. That's what I call people who see what we see, and are talking and fellowshipping and communicating and organizing and getting a resistance going to battle this very dark energy.
And it's so interesting when you say that, because I worked a lot with Howard Zinn. And do you know who Howard is? Howard Zinn wrote a book called The People's History in the United States. And it's really like how Columbus, you know, killed all the Indians. He really talks about like the stuff that's not in the history books. So, and talks about slavery and how, you know, babies were used as foot warmers. Like, he really de-romanticizes all of American history and tells it like it is what happened in
you know what, I'm looking at you like crazy because that I didn't know that about babies being
oh
used
my
as
God,
foot
honey.
warmers.
Yes, they did. They used to make babies be foot warmers for
can't.
people in the winter. They used to put them at their feet, little slave babies. But so what was my point?
I'm sorry, Leslie. I didn't mean to throw you off.
No, it's
You
hilarious.
were saying Howard Zen.
You didn't know
And
about
he
the
wrote
baby
the
foot
book.
warmers.
No, I didn't know about that. A new low has been.
Can we go any lower?
People
it's
are.
so weird.
That's
it's so
crazy.
It's so weird that we keep in this administration. It keeps getting the bar keeps going lower and lower and lower.
and
You're like,
lower.
I can't go any lower, and
Right.
you wonder where it's going to end up. But
Well, that's what Genderswag is here for.
yeah,
And we're determined, along with many other resourceful and light work oriented organizations. So, my thing right now with the community, LGBT element of P, is that there's so much unnecessary competition that I've experienced with, reaching out to other like-minded organizations. I know that as a 501c3 in the making, I understand that there's an incredible urgency now more than ever to get funding. And it's so hard because the pie is so small.
Here's the thing about evolution and revolution, and this is why I brought up Howard. And I'm simplifying his whole entire message, or the reason why I know I met him is it's each one teach one, each one reach one, each one bring one into the sun, meaning that you never know. This broadcast might help the one person who starts the revolution, who does this, or births the kid who does. You never know who you're going to touch. So it's not, there is scale, and yes, there's grand scale, but it's very American to want everything to be very, very grand. And we've lost the humility to know that you can have a revolution in the dog park with like-minded people, and the one person that comes over who hears the message that you need to say on that given day. So your life has to be a revolutionary act. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you also know you can stop a war by being nice to the person who is in service of you.
Mm-hmm.
Being kind, showing them something different than you
And
know
that's
they
where-
are getting
that's
on
where
every
my
day.
spirit is working towards the Trump energy. That
Yeah.
energy is learning how to battle it with the love that is all powerful.
Yes, but it's an everyday thing. So I'm bringing it back to when you're talking about funding. Your funding will come from the person who gives it to you, and it will reach the people that it needs to reach.
You know what? You are a blessed person for saying that, and this is not a shine job, because people who listen to the show and all that, they know that I don't do that. But I received what you just said
Great.
with such warmth
And honey, you got your grandmother as a spirit guide, so you are right.
Grandma and a few others out
Yeah.
there. But here's the thing: I started Genderswag in recovery from a heart attack, and the music and all that stuff came to me from reaching out for help, not to mankind or humankind, but to the higher source that's out there. Call it what you will, but there is a higher energy, a higher denomination. There's a synchronicity to everything. There is also a grand design in diversity. All of that stuff is so true. And as I become more awake, I see it unbelievably so.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can look, like walking through the park, I might as well be in the Garden of Eden. Because I'm looking at the different flowers, the blade of grass, the new patch of grass that they put on that hillside.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never seen new grass like that.
Right.
This is amazing. If this whole park was like that, I don't think I could handle the color shock. This is a paradise.
I hear you. No, we're good.
People
We're
are
good.
so
good.
We're so blinded to that. So listen, I want to make sure that everybody gets a taste of Leslie Silva's work, because I just glanced at when we were starting the show, and let me just say this: what a friggin' treat! Because
Thank you.
I know shit. I mean, I can look at something now and say to myself, that's really, really on the mark. There's a higher element to everybody's work, my work, your work, this one's work. You are definitely in a plateau that is significant, and it's a plateau. And this is what I got spiritually.
I hear you.
Spirit doesn't need days and weeks to analyze, and spirit knows. And so my spirit said, she's speaking with the heavens. The heavens, when you look at her work,
That's beautiful.
the heavens are talking in your photograph. That's why I have to go back, because I want to hear more of what the heavens have to say.
Well, it's interesting. I'll tell you a little bit about it. My father passed, I think, 5 years ago now. I'm not good with times and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
I kind of went.
Speaking of which, go ahead.
Do we have to stop?
We're going to have to stop in a little bit. Go on with your story.
Long story short, my father died, and I had to have I went and I don't know what happened. That really started happening after some people have these creative.
You're talking about the brilliancy that I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, see. Do you think he opened up
I
some
know he
stuff
did.
for you?
I think sometimes this is what we have to, we know as artists that sometimes the pain is the touchstone to this great creative.
Well, when you think about the faith that I reside in, which is Christ's energy, that pain that he suffered on the cross was everything.
Yeah.
And so when we deliver that was my little signal.
Oh.
So when we deliver ourselves through our pain, we can achieve that enlightenment. There's some connection to that whole pain thing.
Yeah.
It's a turn off when you think about it.
It is. It's not for the weak-hearted.
No.
I mean, a sober journey or a spiritual journey is not for anybody who
Here's
is
the thing.
sleeping. You know what? I want to end on this.
What?
Next time I come back, I want to be Kardashian. I want Botox everywhere. I want money in the house, and I want to be completely like knocked out consciously. I don't want to know nothing about nobody. I just want my money and my heels. I swear, I'm done.
And I love those girls, but you just nailed it.
I do too, but
You
I
just
mean, I
nailed
want that. I want that karma.
It is a total. I don't even know what to say.
But
I would love to talk to them, because you know what? They got their shit too.
You know what? No.
But I want.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can imagine. And but Leslie, here's the thing. I really think that if you have the material shit, and I know it's going to sound cheese, upon cheese, I'm like thinking Velveeta as I speak this. But if you got it all like that and you're not happy, I really feel sorry for you.
Oh, well, I mean, there was a time when I was acting, and I remember looking down and seeing a nice amount in my bank account going, this was like, what, 20 years ago? Not 20 years ago, like 15 years ago.
You were just on a TV show, though.
Yeah, but the business has changed so much that actors like myself, unless you are a series regular, a lot of these roles that you see people in are recurring, and it's completely different.
You have to get those recurring things in order to be able to live off something. You can't just walk in and off a show and then be set for
No, if you're a
years and
series regular, you're okay, but most roles now are on a recurring basis. So that's how especially they do that a lot with minorities, unfortunately. So it's a different ball game than what it once was, financially. Like I was on 2 really great shows this year.
Which ones?
Shades of Blue and an upcoming thing called 40 North, with amazing, Jeff Daniels. I didn't work with him, but I worked with another actor named Bill Camp, who was in Night Of, and I was on Shades of Blue with Ray Liotta and J Lo.
Is this stuff out? Can we see?
No, neither of them are out. Well, Shades has been on for 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. Shades of Blue.
Yeah, and I'm recurring on that. So that means I just pop in, I yell, I leave.
Oh my God! I got to see you pop in.
I get to work with one of my favorite actors of all time, which Ray Liotta.
I love Ray Liotta.
Amazing. And
Sexy?
oh yeah, I mean, he's just like one of these. He's so gifted. It's kind of terrifying. And of course, J Lo is very terrifying as well in her own way. The woman is, just a force of nature.
Here's the thing about J Lo. And then we got to wrap it up, because I'm having so much fun with you, and you waited for us. So
I did.
I love you. she can act. I
Oh
like
no, she's
her
great.
acting.
No. I'm talking about the fact that woman has 2 kids. She does.
Yeah.
I mean, she is.
I know, and I saw her last
Unbelievable.
her recent concert footage, and I'm like saying,
she's
if I
gonna
try
be
to do that
50.
shit, look,
She's gonna be 50 in like a
you
couple
ain't telling
years.
me. You see me on the hill in the park with the dog.
Exactly right. I got
I'm ready
bursitis
to
in my
do,
right
like,
hip.
claw
Exactly.
on the ground to get up
Yes,
to the top.
yes.
Leslie Silva, where can people find your work?
Oh my God! What do you mean? Like my
They need-
photography?
yes, they need to-
LeslieSilvaPhotography.com.
Spell Silva for the people.
S as in Sam, I-L-V as in Victor, A.
.com.
Photography.com.
Photography
That's my
okay.
photography page. I'm also at Wobbles Silva. That's Instagram.
Okay.
And
Any Facebook going on, Twitter?
I'm Beaker and Beaker.
Baker, like Baker.
Beaker like the Muppet.
Oh, Beaker. Girl, you got all these references.
I know. I really got to get my
I
social
love
media
you.
game up because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Listen, this is Clarence Scandelle Johnson, and I'm blessed. Leslie, will you honor us with becoming a member of our Genderswag family?
Of course. I thought I was because I was up here talking.
No, you born Genderswag,
Oh,
honey.
okay.
The membership is just a picture of yourself.
Oh, how wonderful. Of
A
course I will.
picture and a quote for equality. That's it. You're in.
You got it.
You
got
send it to me?
Yes. You
I
have to
love you,
explain all that
neighbor.
to me.
So listen, guys, Genderswag Equality is there for you. We need some love to keep the lights on, keep the phone going, and all that good stuff. But honestly, we're introducing our programs, our music therapy program, our literary therapy program, and we're also continuing on with our radio show, our TV show, and our concert series. So we need some funds to come in, and we're launching our magazine, which is debuting softcore launch on November 18th. At genderswag.com. So we're really excited about it. I want to give a quick shout out before I head out tonight to my co-host Danielle Pryor. Beautiful girl. If you don't know Danielle, go to the Genderswag stuff online and look her up. She's beautiful. Danielle, I love you. I miss you.
Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Danielle. She's working a 9 to 5 because she got to pay the bills. We taped the show early. But anyway, guys, keep tuning in. We're going to ask Leslie Silva to come back.
Of course.
Soon.
So we did not talk about.
I know.
About.
Not enough time. Kids out there, if you're having a rough time, wherever you are, and you hear this show, look at the screen one more time and see survivors. This woman is a survivor. I'm a survivor. And guess what? You will survive too. Get in touch with Genderswag. You can send us an email at genderswag. GENDRSWAGYOU@gmail.com, and we're there for you. Look us up online. Genderswag is with 1G now. 1G. We love you. I'm okay with me, so I don't mind you.
One day at a time, darling.
Thank you.
That's Genderswag. That's Genderswag.